There are legends that never fade, stories whispered through generations, filled with gold, glory, and mystery. But few tales blur the lines between art, war, and obsession quite like this one. A room once so dazzling it was called the eighth wonder of the world. A masterpiece carved not from marble or silver, but from glowing amber, fossilized sunlight, dripping in gold and gemstones. For over 2 centuries, it stood as a symbol of royal splendor, political power, and artistic genius. And then, in the chaos of World War II, it vanished. No explosions, no witnesses, no clear answers, just silence. And a mystery that has baffled the world for nearly 80 years. This is the haunting story of the Amber Room, a treasure that may be buried in a forgotten mine, sunk beneath the sea, or destroyed forever. Or perhaps, still hidden, waiting to be found. A dream of golden light. The story begins in 1701, in Prussia, the rising German kingdom that would one day help form the German Empire. King Frederick I wanted more than political power. He wanted legacy, and he found it not through battle, but through brilliance. He commissioned a room unlike anything the world had ever seen, not made of gold, but of something far more unique. Amber. Amber, fossilized resin from ancient trees, glowed with warm hues of honey, gold, and fire. It was rare, delicate, and mesmerizing. To bring this vision to life, Frederick hired sculptor Andreas Schluter and Danish craftsman Gottfried Wolfram. Together, they designed a chamber made of glowing amber panels, inlaid with gold leaf, gemstones, mirrors, and mosaics of quartz, jade, and onyx. In 1709, the room was installed in Charlottenburg Palace in Berlin, and Europe took notice. Nobles called it a miracle of light, a space that seemed to breathe and shimmer with every flicker of candlelight. But destiny had other plans for the Amber Room. The royal gift to Russia. In 1716, King Frederick William I, son of Frederick I, met with Peter the Great of Russia. As part of a diplomatic alliance against Sweden, the Prussian king made a gesture that would echo through history. He gifted the entire Amber Room, a priceless symbol of his kingdom, to the Russian Tsar. The room was carefully dismantled and packed into 18 massive crates. It was shipped to St. Petersburg, where Russian craftsmen reassembled it inside the Winter Palace. But the room didn't stay there long. Under Empress Elizabeth, daughter of Peter the Great, the Amber Room was moved to the Catherine Palace, a summer residence just outside the city. There it was rebuilt and expanded with the help of Italian architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli. The room now spanned 180 square feet, containing over 6 tons of amber, enriched with even more gold and semi-precious stones. Foreign dignitaries who entered its walls were stunned into silence. It was no longer just art, it was power turned into light. A sacred chamber for emperor, over the next century, the Amber Room became the pride of the Russian imperial court. Catherine the Great used it to dazzle foreign ambassadors. Tsar Alexander II showcased his personal collection of rare treasures there. And Empress Elizabeth retreated into it for quiet meditation, basking in the peaceful glow of ancient light. It became more than a room. It was a spiritual space, a national treasure. Even as empires shifted and the world evolved, the Amber Room stood untouched, a reminder of Russia's power, wealth, and connection to Europe's elite artistry. But everything changed in 1917. Revolution and collapse. The Russian Revolution swept across the empire like wildfire. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled for 300 years, collapsed almost overnight. Tsar Nicholas II and his family were executed. Palaces were looted. Churches were burned. The new Soviet regime aimed to erase symbols of monarchy. And yet, somehow, the Amber Room survived. Hidden behind the walls of the Catherine Palace, it was left mostly intact. The Soviets, even in their anti-royal fury, recognized its historical and artistic value. But fate wasn't finished with the Amber Room. Hitler's eyes turned east. In 1941, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union. 3 million Nazi soldiers stormed the Eastern Front, looting art, destroying culture, and seizing everything of value. Among their targets, the Amber Room. Soviet curators knew the Nazis were coming. They tried to dismantle the room to save it, but the amber was so old and dry it crumbled on contact. In desperation, the staff covered the room in wallpaper, hoping to disguise it. But the Nazis saw through the ruse. In just 36 hours, they tore the room apart, carefully packed it into crates, and shipped it to Königsberg Castle in East Prussia, modern-day Kaliningrad. There, under the supervision of museum director Alfred Rode, the Amber Room was reinstalled and displayed for the German public. For a moment, it looked like the Nazis had reclaimed their heritage. But then, silence, the vanishing. By 1943, the tide of war had turned. Königsberg came under heavy Allied bombing. Then in 1944, Soviet forces began closing in. Museum staff rushed to pack away the Amber Room again. But what happened next has never been proven. Some say it was destroyed in the bombing. Others claim it was hidden in secret tunnels, salt mines, or even loaded onto ships like the Wilhelm Gustloff, which was later sunk. When Soviet troops captured Königsberg in 1945, they searched the castle ruins, but found nothing. The Amber Room, one of the greatest artistic treasures of all time, had vanished without a trace. The endless hunt. Since then, the search for the Amber Room has become a legend of its own. In 1997, a German man tried to auction a stolen amber panel. It had been taken by his father, a Nazi soldier. In 2017, amateur treasure hunters claimed the room was buried in a secret Nazi bunker called Prince's Cave. They found signs of heavy equipment being lowered into the earth, but no room. Other theories suggest it's buried in sealed mines, submerged in lakes, or even hidden beneath Kaliningrad's modern buildings. Some say it still exists. Others believe it was burned or destroyed long ago. A few even suspect the Soviets covered up its loss, then destroyed the remains of Königsberg Castle in 1968 to hide the evidence. To this day, the Amber Room remains one of the most hunted treasures in the world, and one of its most enduring mysteries. A new beginning. By the 1970s, Russia gave up hope of ever finding the original room. So they began a bold plan to rebuild it. Using old photos, records, and recovered techniques, a team of Russian artisans spent over 2 decades recreating the Amber Room, piece by painstaking piece. The effort cost $11 million and was nearly abandoned, until, ironically, a German company stepped in to help fund its completion. Finally, in 2003, the new Amber Room was unveiled in the Catherine Palace, just in time for St. Petersburg's 300th anniversary. Today, tourists from around the globe visit this shining replica. But the mystery of the original still lingers. The final question? Is the Amber Room still out there? Maybe it lies buried beneath forest soil, or hidden deep in a sealed mine no one remembers. Maybe it's lost to fire, ash, and war. Or maybe, just maybe, it's waiting, preserved in silence. The Amber Room is more than a missing treasure. It's a symbol of beauty stolen by conflict, of power, greed, and the fragility of culture. And until the day it's found, if that day ever comes, it remains a haunting reminder that even the greatest wonders can disappear in a moment. But legends, they last forever. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let us know in the comments, do you think the Amber Room still exists? Until next time, stay curious.